good to have you join us again for your program, well, your favorite or most favorite program on television. This is Closeflow, coming to you from NTA2 Lagos Network Center. Always would like to say on this show that it's our delight to have you join us at the table as we continue to look at the story of Nigeria and the roles that each and every one of us is actually playing or not playing in how that story is being scripted. Again, today we have decided to go back to the, street, as it were, and examine the environment in which we live, environment, the air that we breathe in, the way we interact with each other within the land space that is called Nigeria, and how healthy or how endangered that space is. We know that globally, everybody is looking at the environment and wondering if we are replenishing the earth or we are diminishing it. So what role are you playing? What role am I playing in making sure that the earth is replenished and is going to be here for our children to also live in? We decided, therefore, to bring into the studio somebody who has exhibited so much passion about how the environment is being managed or is being damaged. Incidentally, she's been on this show before and she promised us she's going to raise an army of environmental guardians. I wonder where they are now because I can't see them on the street. We're going to be asking her if it is just a play of, maybe a drama script that we are yet to enact. Our guest is a landscape architect, one of the very few on the continent. She's a postgraduate student at the University of Lagos. She is a passionate environmentalist, but importantly, she's a very concerned citizen. My pleasure on your behalf to welcome her to Closeflow today, Fadera Williams. You're welcome to Closeflow.
Thank you. Good morning.
Well, it will be interesting for us. Let's profile this discussion or this conversation properly. So, in global ranking, if you're going to look at Nigeria, in global ranking, in terms of looking at the environment, managing disasters, preparing for emergencies, in global ranking, where is Nigeria?
All right, Nigeria right now ranks very low globally. And I say this because one of the major problems we have as a country is environmental ignorance. Environmental ignorance is a big issue that we have to contend with in Nigeria. Several projects that government does, people do not support it because most people believe that the environment is not priority on their scale of preference. They feel, does environmental issues bring food to my table? How does environmental issues pay my bills? But what a lot of people don't realize is that the environment is the life support system for all of us here. And if our environment is not okay, then we can't even go about our day-to-day businesses. So when we talk about natural disasters, Nigeria has a reactionary system whereby we react.
We do not act.
We are not precautionary. Internationally, the system should be a precautionary system whereby we have adequate preparation before the emergency comes up. But what we do is we wait until the emergency has happened, then we now start looking for what to do and where to go. Secondly, I've spoken about environmental ignorance.
Yes.
I've spoken about the reactionary, behavior and the, psychology of Nigeria. And thirdly, Nigeria has a very poor sanitation culture. Very poor sanitation culture.
Fadera, with all the every Saturday program, you're still saying we have a poor.
It's poor. It even got at the time we were, for example, let me speak of Lagos now.
Yes.
Lagos used to have last day in the month sanitation program, last Saturday in the month sanitation. But now it's, so I don't know, somebody went to the court and they won the case, and now it's been, even at the time when we were having last Saturday in the month for sanitation, some people were not obeying that regulation. Now it's no longer compulsory. People can leave their houses. It's amazing. It's terrible and appalling. The culture of people throwing the waste into the drains when the rains are falling, nothing has changed. And that's why, for me as a person, I think the first thing we need to do is to make people know that these environmental problems you're causing, you're not affecting government, you're affecting yourself, you're affecting your life, you are affecting the future of your unborn generation. So it's not about government now, it's about you and I and what is going to happen to us. A lot of people harbor diseases that never used to be commonplace in Nigeria now, simply because of these environmental malpractices. So I personally believe that we need to change our attitude.
Now, well, I need to bring up this very quickly. Perhaps it's the God factor we always play on the continent. It's never my portion. It's not the portion of my community. It's not our portion that all these things will happen. So we seem to have that escapist route. So anytime there is a threat somewhere in the environment, it's, no, it's not my portion.
Yes. You know, I was asked sometime by an interviewer that how am I able to, you know, get into the minds of people when I do my environmental campaigns. And interestingly, what you said now about our religious mentality was one of the things that I did. Because I know that Nigerians are naturally, psychologically religious. Even a thief will pray before he goes to rob. Because in Nigeria, it's all about God. God, 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 God. But when I realized that if we want people to listen, maybe the respect and the fear they have for their religious leaders can help us. So I conducted environmental seminars in churches and mosques. And we held tree festivals there. So the tree festival, after having the environmental science seminar, we now decide to give them trees at no cost. Telling them, take this tree to your house and make sure you plant. And with the word of the GO or the clergyman, it was just like God had spoken. And people were just taking the trees and taking them home, and you know, so that God factor, the fear of the religious people, the clergy, you know, respect.
It might work if we do it well. Yes.
It might work. Maybe if our religious leaders come out and say, you know what, as a church, as a mosque, we stand for the green.
Yes.
We stand for the environment. Maybe that could work, because we are all religious people and it cannot change. That's what we are.
I like what the twist you have brought into that. So that is optimistically, you are saying that yes, you can use the God factor to change the people, actually, if you use it well. Well, I like that. So we must commend you for doing that. But now, looking at the recent flooding, especially in Benue State, the Benue Basin. Now, so are you saying that this precautionary thing that we are talking about should have been instituted so that we can, is that what you're saying here?
Definitely.
So if you're not careful, we're going to see more of that?
Definitely. The last time I was on this show, I made a statement. And I said, if you give me land in Lekki, in VI, in the axis of the island,
coastal, yes,
the coastal areas, I will take it and say thank you. But I won't use my money to buy land. And you know, when I said that, it looked like, wow, is she trying to spoil the business of people, you know. But as an environmental person, I know the reality. The world knows the reality. But Nigeria is living in denial. We're living in environmental denial. And this denial is spurred by environmental ignorance. Because we don't know. So for that reason, we stay in a state of ignorance that, look, I'm okay with where I am. There's a class thing that has been, look at, shortly after the interview we had, the session we had, you saw the social media, you know, videos, yes, where people were using canoes, yes, on the island, yes, yes, and that was just a tip of the iceberg. A tip of the iceberg. With the way Nigeria is going right now, if we don't take precaution, if there's any single rise, even
the water level,
in the global sea level, there is high likelihood that our coastal areas will be no more. There will be no more.
No, Fadera, wait a minute. There seems to be a contradiction here, or a disconnect. You are warning us about the erosion of the coastal water lines, whereas we are having land reclamation on the coastal lines.
That's another problem that we have. Another problem we have is that we need to ask ourselves as citizens, before anybody, be it government, be it private sector, goes into land reclamation, what was the environmental impact assessment of those places. For example, there is currently a reclamation going on
yes.
close
Just
to
by the
Iyanoworo.
bridge. Yes.
Yes. Now, it's interesting that the buildings in that area have sunk.
Now, wait. We need to probably by the end of the program, we'll probably need to invite the authorities in Lagos to come and speak about this now. Go ahead.
Yes. If you just by mere looking at it from the bridge,
yes,
the buildings are not at the same level as the current level of the place that has been reclaimed. Because that place, those areas are natural wetlands. Nature has what it called wetlands. In the last 30 years, Nigeria has lost, Lagos has lost close to 70 to 80, between 70 and 80% of its wetlands.
That's dangerous.
All of Isheri, Magodo, they were wetlands. Large part of Majidu, the areas, all the areas, exactly, they were all wetlands. But nature has wetlands. Why does nature have wetlands? Wetlands are natural buffers for increase in water table. When there's an increase in water table, the water flows to the wetlands, and when there's a decrease, it comes back to the water, to the river bodies. That's the purpose of the wetland. But when the wetlands are sand-filled and built upon, where will the water go? The water will go back to your house. That's what causes flooding.
So that is a constant threat we are under now.
It's constant. That is, apart from the flash flooding,
yes,
that is a result of our poor drainage system, a result of our poor culture of throwing our waste in the drainage, the few drainage channels we have. Apart from those factors, there is a natural threat of the sand filling of wetlands, reclaiming of. Why are we doing this to ourselves? We have countries like Singapore to learn from. Singapore has very little land, a lot of coastal areas. Rather than build wide, they build vertically.
Straight, yes.
Horizontal building for areas that have poor land system does not work. If government wants to improve the housing, deficit, which we all know is a problem, then we should invest in building vertically.
Are we not saying that terra firma, we don't have sufficient acreage for terra firma? Is that what we're saying? That
yeah, surely. Lagos, in fact, the whole of Lagos is about 37% land. Land, yeah.
So we have a deficit there.
Yeah, we have a deficit.
So what you're saying, rather than build horizontally, we should build vertically.
Yes. Increase the number of floors, increase the number of housing units vertically rather than horizontally.
Fadera, we'll come back to that because that's another issue. One thing you just mentioned here that I need to quickly, retract. This issue of environmental impact assessment. Is it not possible? Is it not high time we instituted it as a prerequisite for any kind of construction, whether from government to private? Is it not like it must be done before you can begin to say you get approval? Is that not about the time we do it now?
No, actually, in the law of Nigeria, the EIA law was enacted in 1992. There was an event in 1987 in former Bender State, the cocoa pots.
Yes.
There was dumping of toxic waste,
yes,
and sequel to that, there was an enactment of the EIA law. Then it was a decree. Decree 86 of 1992, and that law actually has a provision of the kind of constructions, because you see, the thing with environmental impact assessment is that there's something that we call there are different stages. There is a stage that is called the screening stage, and at the screening stage, that is the stage where you determine whether there is a need for an EIA or not. So there are some kinds of constructions and kinds of projects that fall under the ones that need an EIA. If the impact on the environment does not exceed the threshold, the normal threshold, then there's no need for an EIA. But there are some that actually need an EIA.
Obviously.
Yes. The problem with Nigeria is not that we do not have an EIA process. The problem we have is that we don't follow the core values of EIA. EIA has 3 core values. Number 1, integrity. EIA has to have integrity. Because we are talking about an environmental impact assessment that will
endanger
lives. Environmental impact assessment is not just even talking only about the environment in the sense of the natural side of the environment. When we talk about abiotic factors, we're also talking about biotic factors. How does it affect our sociology, for example? How does it affect our economy? When we build across areas that are riverine, what happens to the livelihood of the riverine people
living there, yes,
who only know how to swim?
Especially this one that you mentioned about.
What happens to them? So EIA is something, that is why EIA has to have integrity. And at the scoping stage of EIA, all stakeholders are supposed to come together, because the scoping stage is where we get terms of reference. We agree on terms of reference. Terms of reference are the indicators. These indicators are the things that you will say, oh, I as a person, this as a member of this community, this is what I want you to,
put in place.
Put in place. These are the things that we want to judge the impact of your project on. How will your project impact upon my livelihood, for example? How will it impact upon the population?
Wait a minute, Fadera, let's go back a second. You are saying stakeholders. So all those who have the reason to be in that community needed to have been together before you.
Yes,
if you don't do it, then what happens?
What usually happens in Nigeria is that at those meetings for EIA, what they do is they just gather people together and give them money.
Brown envelopes.
Brown envelopes. And those people sell their birthrights, they sell their, conscience, the things that they ought to clamor for. That is why...
For a plate of porridge.
That is why in places like the Niger Delta of Nigeria, people, companies, oil companies build, and after building, people still come to complain. Why are you complaining? Because before they built, they got approval. Before they got approval, they must have done EIA. It was at the EIA point that they ought to have clamored for this and this and that and that. And there is always a process of review in the EIA process. There is a process of review before the final report is drafted. So, if there is corruption in the system and the EIA does not have integrity, if it doesn't have integrity, if it is not reliable, we are just deceiving ourselves.
Now, so we are back to square one. It's like we are trapped now. This is a cul-de-sac. Now, corruption everywhere, yes. So it's not just the corruption of the brown envelope. It's also the corruption of the fact that there is no integrity in the things that we're doing. That's what you're saying here.
Yes.
Now, but let's go back. Let's move forward a bit. Let's just scale this up. Look at the hurricane incidents in America and look at the damages they went through. But you cannot deny the fact that they had sufficient technology, sufficient expertise to deal with that emergency. So why did they suffer so much damages?
Okay, now, if you look at America, I like that case study. America has improved in their response system. I have a friend who lives around Houston, around the area. And social media helps us these days. Social media, people, a lot of people talk about their lives on social media. For close to a month before the hurricane came, she had been posting pre-hurricane preparation.
Yes.
Like, she was posting the things she was buying. She bought this and bought that. Almost like there's going to be war. And then they're getting ready. That is what we are talking about.
And now this is at the public level.
Yes.
At individual level. So people are already conscious, they are aware.
Yeah, because there is a prediction system where they knew well ahead of time that this is going to happen. The truth about the matter is that, like I normally say, climate change is something that we have we have to come to terms with climate change. It has come to stay. It's not because of what we are doing today, it's because of what we did yesterday. So the hurricanes will come. The flooding events will happen.
The typhoons.
So the typhoons will happen. So it's not about you saying it won't happen. It's not living, it's adaptation. How would you adapt? So they have improved. They knew the hurricane will happen because climate change is real. I mean, if anything, Mr. President, Mr. Trump,
yes,
who said there is no, who gave license to people to just go ahead and, do whatever kind of industry they like, and, at least the hurricanes will make him sit back a little bit now and say, it's like this thing is really real. You understand? Because for many years, climate change was regarded as a myth, a hoax by capitalists.
Now, we are jumping the gun because we're going to come to that issue. The fact that there is such apathy globally about, the environmental impact of the change. But let's continue with the fact that, yes, America had been a little bit, ready, ahead to deal with this, and yet they suffered that amount of destruction.
Humanity is the most difficult species to control. It doesn't matter that you were told to evacuate. If you didn't evacuate, if you were told,
so on a scale, if you put it here, that means the damages could have been worse than that.
Yes. So the thing is, you can even still say, oh, they gave them an opportunity to evacuate. They knew they were going to have destruction. You had enough time to move your car, to move your valuables out of the place.
Yes. But a lot of people did not.
That is still better. If you did not, then it's your loss. It's still better than you just wake up one morning and then the water in your bedroom
was already at knee level. It happened to a friend, Ogudu, just last night.
Can you imagine?
That's just seepage, not even correct. Okay, now let's come to, you mentioned global warming. Carbon emission is largely responsible for global warming.
True.
And yet, what's the hope for developing nations like us? Massive population, everybody looking for industrialized goods. So, can the carbon ever be lowered in this environment?
Now, that was something I said also in a paper I wrote, where I said that Nigeria, Africa, on our road to becoming a first world nation,
yes,
if we don't start from now paying attention to the domestic and corporate emissions, by the time we become first world, we will be the greatest contributor. I did a research in 2011 and in 2010, and I discovered that domestic source emissions from households emit close to, if you extrapolate, about 358 million tons of carbon in Lagos residential areas alone.
No, Fadera, don't frighten. Wait a minute.
I'm being honest.
Not alarmist?
It's not alarmist. It was the bulk of the work I did for my master's thesis, and that was what. Yes, over 358 million tons of carbon from domestic emissions. I'm not talking vehicular emissions.
I mean, we are saying
I'm talking
25 million population, and that's the kind of thing we get.
Yeah, I'm talking just your cooking gas. I'm talking your coal, your briquette. Those people still using this
firewood,
charcoal.
yes, and all that.
I'm talking your generator, use of generator. It was amazing. In fact, that was what jump-started my environmental passion, because my environmental passion came from knowledge. It came from knowledge. And that's why what I'm at the forefront of in my quest for environmental consciousness is the dispelling of environmental ignorance. See, let's stop deceiving ourselves. The environment is as critical as money in your pockets. It's as important as money in your pocket.
And the earlier we know this, the best for.
The better. And we need to distill it into language that the common man can understand. We may be different in skin color, may be different in tribe, may be different in language, but we are not different in language where the climate change impacts are concerned. We all speak the same language of climate change impacts. So we need to work together as a country and as a continent to face this wicked warlord, as I call it, called climate change. The warlord that chased the people, the nomadic Fulani men that we have been cohabiting successfully with for donkey years, chased them from the north to the south because there was no more fodder for their cattle. You can come up with all sorts of excuses, say they should have a ranching system, and I do agree. But the truth is they've been doing this thing for many years and there was no problem until climate change started to hit hard. They didn't have fodder and then they went to the farms. We started having clashes, we were having bloodshed. Climate change is the trigger. We need to work together as a nation to bring about a solution. For now, we cannot stop what has been done. What we can do is to adapt and make sure not more is added to what has been done.
Well, okay, Fadera, there are two issues now. There's if it were possible to look at this, two prongs that we should look at this now. So we cannot stop what has been done, but can we stem it? Can we reverse it? Can we ameliorate it? Without, adaptation, yes, I agree with you. That's number one. Number two, so why is so much global apathy about the fact that global warming can be destructive? Why so much apathy? Where is the vested interest in that?
Okay. Now, the thing is this. Global warming is a function of what we call greenhouse gases. Greenhouse gases are gases which trap the radiation of the sun. Now, there is a radiation that comes from the sun that benefits us on the earth, but most of that radiation is reflected back because it's not good for us to have too much. So, there are some gases in the atmosphere that prevent those radiation to go back. That is like the greenhouse effect, like what we do when we try to create a nursery to, mimic, yes, the environment of a tropical condition. So we trap heat within the nursery, within the greenhouse, what we call the greenhouse. So that's the idea behind the greenhouse effect. So, but what happens is that there are chemicals which are, findings of scientists and industrialists that make the job easier. And these chemicals are the ones emitting the greatest of these greenhouse gases. So you tell an industrialist to go green. You are telling him to go the difficult way. Because he has discovered a chemical that can do it, at the start.
Catalyst.
Yes.
That can,
yes.
quicken the process,
yes.
more money, more product, more...
For example, when you talk about refrigerants, our air conditioners, our refrigerators, our
deep freezers,
they have a particular chemical called the chlorofluorocarbons. Hydrochlorofluorocarbons.
CFCs.
Yes. HFCFCs. Yes. Now this, there's been a clamoring that they should be, changed to the hydrofluorocarbons, HFC. Because the HFC is said to be a less, damaging, but it's more expensive. When you tell companies not to use fuel-driven vehicles to move their within the industry, packaging and all of that, it's more expensive. Biofuel is not cheap. So the industrialists will prefer to tell you, oh, climate change is a hoax. It's a myth. Because it's going to stem his own profit. Another part of it is who is called an industrialized nation and who is not called an industrialized nation. The judgment most times is by per capita income, and industrial innovations and technological advancement and per capita income. So a country like China is said not to be what is China? Is China industrialized? Is China not industrialized? Yes. I mean, why China is where all the American companies are having their industries. So the question is, the first world countries are saying, let us go back to the drawing board and ask ourselves, who is an industrialized nation and who isn't? So these are all the contentions. But one thing that we all agree on are the impacts of climate change. When they come, a hurricane is a hurricane, whether it's in Nigeria or in America or in China.
Yes.
And this is why we need to unite. We need to stop deceiving ourselves. The impacts are here to tell us that climate change is real.
Okay, let's come back to reality. Let's leave the climate change because that seems to be a little, I don't know, in the horizon for so many people. Let's come back to the brass tacks. Now, you're a landscape architect. Some people have the opinions that all these gardens and parks being built around by some state governments, they're all actually, smoke screens, for stealing or something or whatever.
Embezzling money.
Embezzling money and all that. Do you think those things are necessary? Do you think they actually serve a purpose? And if they do, are we optimally using them therefore?
Okay. Now, when we talk about green, the first thing I would say is that every green component of any system is beneficial. It's beneficial.
So the parks are good?
They are good. They are good. They are very good. It's beneficial when you talk about the health impacts. There's something that is called salutogenicism, which is talking about health-inducing environment that inspire healthiness. It's a new discovery in medical science, and it was discovered because the etiology of disease was discovered not to just be linked to the disease-causing organism, but to the environment
where
that person dwells. And so there's been a clamor for salutogenic environments. So parks are the way to go. The trees are the way to go. But you see, what I said, which is very critical, is that no government project will see the light of day
if the people are not educated.
If the people are not educated. Because when you start planting a tree, there was a time I did a tree planting campaign and I planted trees along Ikorodu, Igbogbo area. And before I went to plant the trees, I spent almost 2 weeks educating the people.
In that community.
In that community. Please, I want to plant trees here. Please don't cut the tree. Please don't destroy the tree. Do you know why you shouldn't cut the tree? Some people say, is it what the government should be doing? People are hungry. This road is bad. This.
All right. Fadera, thank you very much. That actually is always the contention. So people are hungry. I don't have money to pay school fees. I need a job. I need, all sorts of demands. And yet governments are building parks and, of course, gardens and planting trees. And she says it is salutogenic. So we'll come back to that. Stay with us, don't go anywhere. And then when we come back, be sure to take your pencils, your barrels, and your papers and join Fadera in this conversation.
When we came up with the team, say Operation Zero Tolerance, we were saying zero tolerance to deaths on our roads. We were saying having zero crashes, yes, on our roads.
We'd love to see you in Dashiki or Dandogo or Agbada.
The youth still have a very big chance of making a very big difference. That's why I started a lot of projects.
We have not been able to distinguish traditional medicine from traditional religion. So that one has...
Every edition is an arresting conversation with distinguished Nigerians from various strata of the society, bearing their minds on how we can realize the Nigeria of our dreams. Join us live on Closeflow, Monday and Friday, every week here on NTA2 Lagos Network Center. Closeflow. The conversation is about you.
Thank you for staying with us. It's still Closeflow, and it's great to know that you are out there patiently waiting to be part of the conversation. Fadera has actually helped us, trying to just... but to me, I think it's a little bit painful, some of the things she's described here, because it's like we live in ignorance and we chose or we preferred to live in ignorance. Now there's something you have also touched on, and I think we should just quickly look at that now. If you were to be in an executive position with the mandate and the power to make sure some of the things you want to do, you want to see done, are done, that is, you can implement, you can execute, you can arrest, what are some of the major environmental protection issues you would like to table urgently and quickly across Nigeria?
Okay, that's a very good question. Number one, environmental information dissemination. That would be number one. And a community participation in the sustainability of our environment.
When you say that, you mean you will enforce it?
I will enforce it.
You will say people must... It's
yes.
Like you must go to school.
Yes, there must, for example, it must be included in the curriculum from primary school. It must be included in the curriculum from primary school. Environmental education. You're serious about this? Yes.
You're so passionate about
yes, I am. Environmental education and climate change education more specifically. Because our children need to start thinking of innovative solutions. They need to start building a career in that direction. Climate change is the future present that we have provided for them. The impact will be more in their future. So they need to start thinking. There are so many professions that are phased out today thanks to internet and social media. And there will be many more professions that will spring up tomorrow. Climate change, innovative professions are one of such. Our engineering should begin to think bioengineering, yes. Not just petroleum engineering and the black oil engineering. So our children need to start thinking towards it. They need to start knowing about it. Each family must know. Secondly, I will introduce and enforce the wole wole system.
What we used to have before when we were growing up.
Yes, we will have people pay for not taking care of the environment. So we will penalize you for harming yourself. The time when the seat belt was introduced in Lagos, the seat belt is naturally good for you as an individual.
Yet many of us
it's a no-brainer. You should help yourself after all. But you chose not to help yourself. So the government decided to penalize you for not helping yourself.
And it worked.
And it worked.
Like magic.
Yes. That is another thing I will do. Basically, those two things for me are the bedrock. The foundation for any project. If the people are aware that, see, environmental projects are not your enemies. They are not taking out of the pocket or the money that you need for your food. They are actually helping you to create an environment where you can have more jobs, you can have
and that
more,
the food that you eat will be
safe for you. If they knew, then they will support me. You can go to that street in Igbogo. The trees are standing.
Up to now.
Till today.
Congratulations on that. Now, okay, very quickly, let's say a big thank you to all our viewers who have sent in their questions and comments. I still have a load here for Fadera, but I think I should honor your attention here. So, okay, Michael Odugowa, in Nigeria, what are the problems facing environmental sanitation? Can they be solved?
Surely they can.
But what are the problems? Start with.
The first problem, I will say it again, is ignorance. Why are you cleaning your environment? It's for you. It's for
Please
your
say
health.
that again for our viewers to understand properly.
You are cleaning your environment for yourself, not for the government, for your health, for the health of your children. Life expectancy has reduced to 43 years now in Nigeria. Meanwhile, in the other developed world, you see have 50-something years in some countries 65 years.
Even Rwanda.
But here in Nigeria, it's 43 years for women, for men, 45 for men, for women. Why? We are the causes. Our environmental behavior, our environmental apathy, our environmental degradation actions. So when you clean your environment, it's not for anybody, it's for you. So you should conduct your environmental sanitation program compulsorily, whether it is enforced by government or not, because it's for you.
Okay, Michael, how about if Michael's neighbor refused to do similar thing?
We should lead by example. When you come out and you do yours, the people in your environment will notice that you are always coming out. Before long, they will join you.
All right, so Michael, you heard that. Stop passing the buck. You better start tidying up your environment. What are the aims of EIA? What are the aims? You stated some initially, yes. The three models, yes.
Yes, the core values of EIA is that it must have integrity, it must be rigorous, and it must be participatory. Those are the core values. But it has a lot of principles. Some of the principles are that it must be transparent. Another principle is that it must be detailed. Another principle is that it must follow the proper process.
Now, but Fadera, sorry to be pessimistic. Won't this controvert the typical Nigerian, the Nigerian factor? All the things you're saying, transparency, thoroughness, those are very strange values.
They are what it should be. If we do it the way it should be, we will get the results that we should get. We cannot keep doing the same thing and expect a different result.
That's insanity. Okay, all right. Say, Michael, how can we solve the problem of oil spillage in Niger Delta?
It's not a problem that can be solved.
Michael, that is so good. Michael, better tell Michael.
You will not be happy with my answer.
Yes.
But it's not a problem that can be solved because oil spillage is a byproduct of oil drilling. What should be done is having a plan for remediation of the places that are destroyed. There are chemicals, there are innovations, technological advancements that can remediate degraded water, soil within months.
And marine life.
And marine life within months. So the issue is not how we spoil the oil spillage. You can't spoil the oil spillage. stop the oil spillage. What you can do is protect and provide for the replenishment or the restoration of the damaged areas.
So, Michael, you can take that as a campaign. Again, it says, since climate change cannot be escaped or cannot, how can it be reduced?
Good. Climate change can be mitigated. And one of the ways to mitigate climate change is to take out the excess carbon from the atmosphere. And we know one very simple way is to, number one, either reduce the production of carbon, or number two, sequester the existing carbon. And so, if you reduce the production of carbon, that means you are innovating technology where the vehicles are no longer emitting carbon. Like in the US, I heard there's a particular vehicle now which will be launched in 2020 that runs on water. Other vehicles that run on biofuel are already in existence and being used. But the one that runs on water, which incidentally was designed by a Nigerian, is said to be, coming up in 2020. Those are the kind of innovations. So let's have grinding machines that run on water. Let's have generators that run on water.
On grasses.
Or that run on grass or plants. That's another way. Then the sequestration of carbon, the easiest way to sequester carbon is to plant trees. Because trees take carbon dioxide for their food and they emit oxygen. So the more trees you have, the more sequestration of carbon you get. One fully grown tree can sequester 26 kilograms of carbon. And one fully grown tree will emit oxygen for a family of 4. I said that the last time I came.
Yes, last time you were here.
Yes. So these are the practical ways to mitigate the climate change emissions.
Okay, let's move on from Michael because he has so many questions. The last one from him is that what is the full meaning of EIA?
Environmental Impact Assessment.
Okay, Philip says, how much of this advice has your organization given to the states that are violating these natural wet areas? How much of these opinions you have expressed here have you shared with them?
Okay, the thing is, my understanding of the way things work in Nigeria is that much of the work should be done with the people. Now, if we are able to raise a critical mass of minds that are saying the same thing, government will say, hey, who are those people talking there?
And that's what we have not achieved.
And that's what we need. Because when you go to government as a lone person, saying, hey, see, this is this. I've even had seminars in the government, Ministry of Environment. I've had collaborations with them. But there's nothing like a million. For example, if 100,000 young people come together in National Stadium, and what they are saying is, we are saying no.
We want green.
We want green. Even the governor will say, please, so what is going on there? It will become something that they will listen to.
So Philip, they are saying that to Philip now. Philip should be,
yes.
So it's all inclusive.
Yes, it's all inclusive. We all need to work together. Where you stay, Philip, what do you tell the people? When you see them throwing a pure water sachet on the floor, do you just turn a blind eye and pretend like it doesn't matter? Those pure water sachets will drain, will clog the drains. So it's little drops of water that are making a mighty ocean. We are all contributing to this problem. So it's not enough to just go and tell government. It's enough for each and every one of us. If we were aware, I wouldn't buy a land in a wetland, for example. Why should I?
But that seems to be the case.
Yes, there are many areas where are not developed. See, people fail to understand that people, human beings, make the environment. The environment does not make a man. Although there are some schools of thought that think that the environment makes a man. But the truth is that I am of the school of thought that man is largely anthropocentric. Although biophilia is something man must also embrace and become more ecocentric. And so we can shape our environment and make sure
the environment shape us.
Yes, and make sure that the environment, as we shape it, is not degraded. It's in sync with the environment, just like all other animals do.
They replenish the environment.
Yes, they do things in sync with the environment. An ant will build an ant hill, and if you're not careful, you will get into it without knowing. Because it builds the ant hill in such a way that you wouldn't even know that there's an ant hill there, except someone tells you, be careful, there's an ant hill somewhere there. Because they
before
build
it runs also ants.
Yeah, they build in such a way that they are in sync with the environment. When a bird builds a nest in the tree, it doesn't destroy the tree. It builds in such a way that the nest is part of the tree. You have to look closely to see the nest. That is what is called biomimicry. Mimicking nature.
Yes.
We need to have that mentality. Change this ideology of green is only for people that are rich. You may not have money, but do you know how much it costs to buy an oxygen, a tank of oxygen? But if you have one tree in your house, free tank of oxygen. You cannot see it. You cannot see the oxygen, but you breathe it in. And it purifies your blood and elongates your life.
Okay, let's quickly look at this. I think for our viewers, well, if you have more questions, you may send in your comment. But do you think, really, that on the continent, we are traveling through a dark tunnel, as it were, with the way that the public has shown so much apathy towards the environment? We talk of the ozone layer, we talk of global warming, and people are like, excuse me?
I actually have a dream that Nigeria and Africa is changing. I believe there is a revolution, an environmental revolution underway.
But it's still a dream.
Yes, I believe so. I want to believe that there is hope for us. Because if your television station, the station with the widest reach, is at the forefront of championing this cause and talking about environmental issues, this is the second time I'll be coming here talking about environmental issues, then we are on the right direction. We need to have more of these campaigns, more of this awareness, more talks about it, yes. More of these conversations. It should be sung in our songs.
So we are looking for Davido doing something about the environment.
Exactly. That's one of our dreams as an NGO. We call it the Green Concert, which we hope by God's grace will happen next year, where celebrities that are accepted by the young people will come and sing about the environment. And then the young people will embrace that because these are
from their idols.
Yes, from their idols. We need everybody to have hands on deck for this problem. It's not only government, the individuals, especially the youth. We have 60% young people
in our population now.
Even in the population of Africa. Recently, I heard that in Rwanda and Kenya, there were two people who were one was under 35, the other under 30, who won seats in House of Reps by driving from village to village on bicycles. Independent candidates. No, and this is the kind of revolution we need. As young people, we need to determine who is going to be the one that will take our decisions for us. The House of Reps is not for people to go and sit down there and just go and be spending money and squandering money. They are a House of Representatives. They are supposed to represent you and I. So when you choose people who have absolutely no input, no interest of yours at heart to go and represent you, your interests are not represented. So we need, as young people, it's not about fighting. It's not about war. There's an intellectual ability to go about this very intellectually and sanely, exercising our right to vote. You may say, they will rig it. Trust me, most of the time, people don't come out to vote.
They will be saying they will rig it and they will stay at home.
Sit at home. If you come out with this new system of...
Especially if there is a man carrying a card that says we are going green.
Exactly. If you see someone who say we are going green, one of my plans is for this and for that to make your environment, good. You go and vote him in. It doesn't matter. The age has even been brought down now.
Yes.
Go and vote your people that will represent. Nigeria can only be improved by Nigerians. Africa can only be built by Africans. The countries we go to today and we say, we love these countries, we want to live there, a lot of people want to escape to these countries. Those countries were not like that 100 years ago. They built their countries.
Their citizens built those countries, okay? Now, that brings us to the question of, in your studies and interactions with experts, development experts, other concerned, individuals and, environmentalists globally, can we look at the numbers? What are the dangers like? If you're going to say, okay, so the ozone layer is peeling off, so what are we looking at? Is it something imaginable?
For every 1% reduction in the ozone layer, we have 2 to 5% increase in skin cancer.
Globally?
Yes.
7.2 billion people, you're saying 2% of that will
2
get
to
cancer?
5% increase in skin cancer. For every 1% depletion in the ozone layer.
How badly depleted is the ozone now?
Right now, we have ozone holes in areas of Antarctica and areas around Australia. And the ozone has been depleting at 4% every decade.
Well, I'm sure...
These are facts. It's not...
No, because what Fadera is saying here would be that if in every decade we have lost 4%, and this is 2017.
In the polar regions. In the polar regions.
And the more of the ozone that we lose...
The increase in the ultraviolet rays, the increase in skin cancer and other carcinogenic related diseases, the increase in the extermination of plant life and some marine life, the increase in the reduction in our immune system. There are so many problems because the ozone layer is actually a protective layer covering us, protecting us from these ultraviolet rays
coming from the sun.
Coming from the sun. They are rays that are supposed to be good, but they are not good in excess. So the ozone layer is that buffer that protects the air. And when this discovery was made in 1985, that there were evidences of reduction in the ozone layer, the world came together. And in 1987, the Montreal Protocol was agreed upon, whereby some chemicals that trigger ozone depletion, that's ODSs, were banned. You know, the interesting thing is that Nigeria still
has not signed that.
Maybe 2015, Federal Ministry
of the Environment. Well, I was going to ask that like a last question because my producers are saying we're running out of time. Who really are the guardians of the environment in Nigeria, the ecosystem in Nigeria? Who are the guardians, and have we actually interrogated them?
The Federal Ministries of Environment, the State Ministries of Environment, and the local Ministries of Environment.
How about the Ecological Trust Fund?
That's also part of it. I mean, I think the Ecological Trust Fund was brought out based on the need that the Federal Ministry...
Has anybody ever queried that, the funding going to that agency and what has been done?
Those are the things we need you to go and investigate as press people. We need you to find these things out and bring it out to the fore. What is being done with the Ecological Fund?
All right. Well, for our viewers, we want to thank you again for staying with us. It's been exciting having you to join Fadera as she now explained to us again the dangers. If we keep quiet, we are probably dying silently. So she says you must speak up, you must join the campaign to go green, and then we can make sure that the future of Nigeria and the future of the world is preserved. Thank you very much for coming on the show again.
Thank you, sir.
And the conversation is always there. The social media, go and share with your friends, and let us, all of us, be together on the same page to be sure that Nigeria is safe and the world is also safer. Thank you for watching, and bye for now.